Are you calling for item number 6, American Teleconferencing Services?
I'm calling for the meeting to be commenced.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. So if I can have the clerk,
we are ready
please,
to begin. Thank you.
Ms. Morales, are we ready to go?
Yes, we are ready to begin.
Okay. And have you begun the recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and begin by calling the roll.
Krikorian?
Here.
Price?
Aye. No. Here.
Yeah.
Koretz?
Present.
Blumenfield?
Blumenfield present.
Bonin?
Bonin present.
5 members present and a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this hearing of the Budget and Finance Committee for Monday, November 9th, 2020. We will be taking public comment prior to discussion of today's agenda items in just a moment. But before we begin that, I do want to propose, first of all, members, I will be proposing as consent items 9 through 12 and 14. So I'm going to read my recommendations on those, and then I'm going to introduce an amendment to item 15, which is being circulated to your staff or will be shortly. So on the consent items, item number 9, the recommendation will be to approve the CAO's recommendations. Item number 10, to approve the city attorney's recommendations. Item number 11, to approve the motion. Item number 12, to approve the motion. Item number 14, to approve the CAO's recommendations. And then on item number 15, the amendment that will be circulated to you contains the following recommendations. That we concur in the 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th instructions from the Immigrant Affairs, Civil Rights, and Equity Committee. 2, that we amend the 3rd recommendation to read, quote, appropriate $1,106,000 from the unappropriated balance fund number 100-58, account number 580318, UB Reserve for Preservation of City Services, Reinvestment in Disadvantaged Communities and Communities of Color, Reimagining Public Safety Service, and Targeted Local Hire Program, to the following accounts and in the amounts specified in the new Civil and Human Rights Department Fund number 100-15, along with a budgeted amount of $417,554 for a sum of $1,523,582 to be allocated as follows. 001010 general salaries, $900,000. 003040 contractual services, $507,000. 007300 equipment, $206,028. Number 4, amend the 4th recommendation of the IACRE committee to read, authorized by resolution the following the following positions to be employed in the Civil and Human Rights Department through June 30th, 2021 to support the Civil and Human Rights Department commissions and develop rules, regulations, and outreach programs to address discrimination and equity and promote diversity within the city, subject to allocation by the Board of Civil Service Commissioners and pay grade determination by the Office and pay grade determination by the Office of the CAO, Employee Relations Division. A, 3 senior project coordinators. B, 1 project coordinator. C, 3 human rights advocates. D, 1 senior administrative clerk. E, 1 chief management analyst to serve as an assistant general manager. F, 1 commission executive assistant 2. G, 1 executive administrative assistant 3. H, 1 community affairs advocate. I, 1 administrative clerk. 5, include a recommendation that the human relations advocate, chief management analyst, 1 senior project coordinator, and 1 management analyst be exempted from the managed hiring process, but that all other positions should be subjected to managed hiring. So I will speak to that amendment when we take the item up, but I just wanted to make sure that all of you members and the public had that before you during public comment. So if we can go now next to public comment, and I'd like to ask the clerk to please read in to the public the instructions on public comment, please.
Thank you. Members of the public who would like to offer comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-655-3266 and then press pound. Press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. Finally, when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number called out, press star 6. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Morales, and we're ready to begin public comment. So let's go ahead and we'll take 45 minutes of comments. We'll go until about 3 o'clock on public comment, and I'd like to ask that we invite up the first speaker to speak, please.
Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon, caller.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Go right ahead. Okay,
Last time.
Let's give that caller one more time. A try, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Okay, I'm sorry, we'll need to move on to the next speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 0479. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, speaker.
Caller with the last four digits, 0479, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello? All right. We'll move to the next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 7487, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is James Wen, and I serve on the Los Angeles Transgender Advisory Council. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm calling on behalf of item 15, motion relative to the creation of the Civil and Human Rights Department, and I request to have your group support the creation of the Civil and Human Rights Department. I also just want to add that on behalf of the LGBTQ community, but also as a member of the Transgender Advisory Council, that we have appreciated the presence of Capri Maddox into our meetings. I find that it's been very helpful to have her voice there. We also greatly appreciate that members of her staff have also attended the meetings to really show their understanding and that we are an important intersection, the LGBTQ intersection of community. So I wholeheartedly support having the creation of the Civil and Human Rights Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 2789, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Daniel Brawl, and I'm calling regarding item number 15. I'd like to urge you to fully fund and staff the Civil and Human Rights Department as requested in the budget. The critical work to impact discrimination, level the playing field, promote equity and empowerment will not be sustained in a meaningful way without the necessary funding. Los Angeles is one of the most diverse cities with multiple minority, ethnic, racial, and religious groups. We need to ensure that the Civil and Human Rights Department is established and fully funded. We must address adversities and inequities for all Angelenos to include racial, ethnic, religious, and LGBTQ communities. Following the protest, the city promised to take measurable steps to ensure that Los Angeles truly becomes an inclusive, just, and equitable society. A full functioning Office of Civil and Human Rights is literally the bare minimum that can be done to realize that goal. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 2935, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Go right ahead, caller.
Caller with the last four digits, 2935, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Irma Becerra Nunez. I'm first Vice President of the Human Relations Commission and member of the Racial Equity and Immigration Ad Hoc Committees. I'm calling regarding item 15. I strongly support and urge full funding and staffing of the Civil and Human Rights Department as requested in the budget because it addresses the adversities and inequities impacting all Angelenos making up our diverse multi-ethnic, racial, LGBTQ, and faith groups. Only when the Civil and Human Rights Department is fully funded and staffed can it effectively continue our work on racial equity, social justice, hate crimes, immigration, LGBTQ, upward mobility of low-income youth, and other critical issues impacting our city, state, and nation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for calling. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 1263. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Courtney Martin Green. I'm the immediate past president of the Human Relations Commission, calling on item 15. This matter is before us today because we heard the call, George Floyd's call for his mother, America's call for justice, and our city's call for change. Last week, the people of this nation reinforced this mandate by coming out to vote in record numbers and choosing new leadership tasked with ushering in an era of actual justice for people of color, the LGBTQ and immigrant communities, and all genders and religions, among others. We saw that the arc still bends towards justice, but this is just the starting point. The real work begins now. Our nation and our city are founded on some beautiful ideals, but also some terrible realities. The threat of racism and inequity runs through every facet of our society. And while we didn't create these problems, we are the only ones who can solve them. The important and necessary work can and must be done, and Los Angeles has the opportunity to be the leader, the guiding light for the rest of the nation. This work cannot be haphazard or piecemeal, turned on and off in response to politics or pressure. Supremacy, inequity, and injustice are at work every day, and adequately responding requires sustained, dedicated, deliberate, strategic, diligent, daily, and long-term effort. It requires a dedicated, fully funded, and staffed department to do the work. The Civil and Human Rights Department will be the city's only dedicated entity to tackling this work head-on, with three arms, one looking inward at city systems, one facing outward towards employment, housing, education, and commerce, and a third dedicated to direct community engagement to build peace between community groups on the ground in our beloved city, the most diverse city in the world. So I want to congratulate you all for taking great strides today to protect and care for the people of the city of Los Angeles, to keeping us and our children for generations to come safe by overseeing the creation and full funding of the Civil and Human Rights Department, for rising to meet this moment, because we all know the arc doesn't bend towards justice by itself. It bends because good people like you climb on top of it and weigh it down. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 1108. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, Daniel Gus. All items in general public comment, please.
Go right ahead, Mr. Gus.
Thanks, sir. Council members, you have a series of items on the agenda today regarding legal settlements against the city, LAPD, et cetera, that are obviously, the vast majority being handled by the city attorney's office. I recently pointed out to this committee or to the full city council, I am deeply concerned that in a recent settlement or a recent order by a court judge, the city attorney's office was ordered to pay PricewaterhouseCoopers $2.5 million, not for a settlement, but for sanctions, which means malfeasance. I am deeply concerned that we have not yet found out what those acts of malfeasance are, and because of that, my distrust of the city attorney's office, I think that that type of environment and culture at the city attorney's office impacts each of today's agenda items, at least the ones that are involving Mike Fewer's department. As you might know, when I sued the LAPD, the vast majority of the money that I got was for malfeasance by a deputy city attorney. And I would encourage the Budget and Finance Department to find out what happened in the PwC case and to find out whether the same misconduct permeates any of these other cases that you're dealing with today or any of the future items that you're dealing with that. Let me go over to my general public comment now so I can let other people speak. Council members, tonight I have a column in City Watch called Paul Koretz Ignores Red Flags, gambles $1.5 million in animal donations. I am concerned that in an era where we're cutting back everything, not the least of which is the LAPD, that the city is using money, tapping into donated funds that should be budgeted items. And I would welcome or encourage some direction from the Budget and Finance Committee on the city rating donated funds, in this case the Animal Welfare Trust Fund, that should be in budgeted items. I will explain in detail why Mr. Koretz is missing all of these red flags, a very dubious 3-year, $1.5 million contract that I do not think that the city would approve if it came from the budget. So therefore, why is the city approving it if it came from donated funds? It'll be more clear when you see my column tomorrow, but if the city wouldn't pay this money in a budgeted item, I don't think it should be dipping into donated funds. That's all. I take back my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guess. All right. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1403. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go right ahead, speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1403. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello? It's your Lord and Savior here. All items and general motherfucking public comment for goats. Can I start my time?
Your time is running.
Can I get 9 minutes instead of 4? I'd really appreciate it.
You have 2 minutes on agenda items and 1 minute for general public comment. Your agenda item time must be restricted to agenda items.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing we can do about that. Let's get to the Civil Rights Commission. We get rid of that bumbling racist, Jackie Lacey. Bye-bye, you fucking cunt.
That's not on the agenda. That is not on the agenda. Stick to the agenda
Civil rights. Civil rights. Okay, but I'm talking about when the police violate civil rights. Shouldn't the Civil Rights Commission refer bad shooting cops to the new district attorney? Is that part of the mandate? Please, God, let it be. I heard other speakers say the same thing. We need a strong, powerful Civil Rights Commission so that when you're on a bicycle and you're not right with a yarmulke and get shot by LAPD, that you have a place to go. No more. Do not be afraid. Come out and be civil right protected in the city of LA. Yes. And we're all going to be saved all the way from the DA, all the way to Biden, all the way to Nuri Martinez and the great Gil Cedillo. And as far as the rest of this fucking agenda, nobody gives a shit. So I want to go to my general comment, if I may.
Time is running. Go ahead.
That's right. That's right, everybody. Herb Wesson is gone. He's gone. Jackie Lacey is gone. That fucking pig bitch protecting killer cops for fucking years. Now, when you shoot another nigger LAPD, you're going to prison. That's right. Stop shooting niggers immediately by executive fiat. God bless Judge Carter fucking you in the ass and cleaning up the freeway. Look at the freeways, how they're cleaning up. And finally, tomorrow, watch Herb Wesson sell city property to an LLC.
Thank you very much. Your time is expired. Thank you very much. Time is expired. That's it. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 7359. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, good afternoon.
State your names and the items you'd like to speak on.
Yes, Council. My name is Jasmine Creighton. I'm on the Trans Advisory Council Board of Los Angeles, California, and also Senior Manager of Strategic Partnerships at APIT. I want to speak on item 15 if I can. I just want to say I support the Civil and Human Rights Department, and it should be fully funded and staffed. I urge you to fully fund and staff the Civil and Human Rights Department as requested in the budget. The critical work to impact discrimination, level the playing field, promote equity and equality and empowerment, and will not sustain in a meaningful way without the necessary funding. So thank you, and I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 7856. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Thank you. This is Jackie DuPont Walker on item 15. I am still very excited about the creation of the Office of Civil and Human Rights. I am excited to see that there is funding for this department that exceeds the recommendation of the prior committee. I remain concerned, however, that it appears the mission of the office has been expanded. I would hope, since this is something that is sorely needed for our city to actually function with the level of recognition of our diversity that is long overdue, that we not overtax the office, despite the excellent leadership of Capri Maddox and staff, that we not tax them beyond what they can achieve. So I would hope that we're going to phase the work, and truly I hope that the immigrant rights issue is included, because in the communities we work, it is surely a part of the demographic. But please allow the office to have some successes so we can see some outcome, and we can have a city that we can all be proud of. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. DuPont Walker. Good to have you with us. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 9569. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. This is Leslie Ivy. I am Vice Chair of the Commission on Civil Rights and a member of the African American Commissioners of Los Angeles. I'm calling to speak about item number 15, and I am so grateful for the committee's work to try and budget the department. I would recommend that we fully fund the Civil and Human Rights Department. We must begin to heal our divided nation right here in our home of Los Angeles. The critical work of the department depends on the full staffing and the budget to do the work. This work is about promoting equity and empowerment, impacting discrimination, and it can't be done without the necessary funds. Our family came to Los Angeles in the 1950s, inspired by the increasing diversity of the people and the job market, and I would love to see that expansion of civil rights into the future for all of our communities, diverse in every way. And I thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thanks for being with us. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 3223. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on. And please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon,
Hello.
speaker. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mercy Mehazoon, and I'm part of the undergraduate college community and a member of Same Church. I'm currently in class, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to call and offer my support for fully funding the Civil and Human Rights Department. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
I'm so glad you could be with us, and I'm so glad you could take time off of class. Thanks very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1804. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Sega Hapte, and I'm going to speak the item 15. Good afternoon, member. Good afternoon, member of Budget and Finance Committee. I am Sega Hapte, representing the African immigrant, East Africa, West Africa, North Africa, and South Africa community here in LA. And I'm asking, please, that you fully fund the Civil and Human Rights Department. It is a long overdue to have this kind of department that includes everybody. The work is going to be important, productive. This department will give us voice and compassion, love, respect of each other for our future as the city of Los Angeles. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 0850. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Oh, thank you. My name is Lydia Ponce, and I'd like to speak on number 15 and to the amendments that were proposed.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I am Mayo, and I am Quechua, 2 different continents. I am American Indian Movement, and it's an honor to speak before you. I am a recipient of the Angel Award 2011. As the City of Los Angeles, the Human Civil Rights Department is the conscience and the heart, the bridge of truth, the hard facts about our beloved City of Angels. Hard facts that move us forward and offer some healing by supporting both civil and human rights, promoting empowerment and equity. It is your job to fully fund, and staff the Human Civil Rights Department as requested. We are not returning to the old normal. It is a new normal of teaching to unlearn and learn again and to build those bridges. I do not appreciate this last-minute amendments that are offered within an hour and a half meeting to fully, genuinely appreciate that if you're adding more to the plate, to the schedule of funding for this department, that you add additional funding. And if not, then leave it as it is and meet with the people from this department and see and assess how you can actually move those proposed amendments forward. Without the funding, it's a shallow offering. And I'd like to uplift everyone that spoke before, except for Mr. Goat and the Goat Man, or whatever he calls himself, because we're all here with diverse voices, the very thing that Los Angeles is. It would be a disservice to try to go back to old tricks of slipping in another a budget amendment that doesn't really do anything but try to get more bang for your buck. We cannot have shallow conversations. We really need to go deep with this and offer some real healing with some real funding and real support for all of us, the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1550. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. Hi, I would like to speak on item 15. I am Marhawi Daniel Mehazoon, and I am a youth ambassador for the City of Los Angeles. And I would like to advocate for the Civil and Human Rights Department to be fully funded. This is a department that is so important, especially at this time, and they deserve the resources to do their important and necessary work well. So I hope that you will consider this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your being with us. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7960. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Carlos Leon, and I would like to speak on item 15.
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlos Leon. I'm here with Community Coalition. I'm calling today in support of item 15. We definitely need a commitment from our city to establish and fund the Department of Civil and Human Rights, which includes the Office of Racial Equity. Within this department, South LA for far too long has been neglected for decades, targeted by racist policies that continue to disregard our black and brown communities as well as immigrant communities. More recently, the pre-existing conditions have led to highest numbers of COVID-19 cases that are due to the poor social health determinants of the built environment of our community. The funding needs to happen to really respond to the racial injustice and inequities that continue to harm our community and will continue if not taken seriously through funding. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Go right ahead, speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Okay. One more try. Speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3111, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, please. All right, we'll need to move to the next speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1798, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker.
Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Yes, my name is John Doe Barden. I'd like to speak on item number 15.
Yes, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is John Doe Barden. I'm with Advancement Project California, and I'm calling today in support of item 15. We urge the city to appropriately fund the Department of Civil and Human Rights, which includes the Office of Racial Equity within the department. The Department of Civil and Human Rights and the Office of Racial Equity each have distinct but complementary purposes and areas of focus. The department is critical for the city to address and prosecute ongoing discrimination, and the Office of Racial Equity is fundamental to proactively undertaking systems change around the city's policies, practices, and culture to help address systemic racism. Together with adequate resources and funding that they each require, they will enhance the mission, vision, and most importantly, the impact of the department as a whole. So we ask you to position the Department of Civil and Human Rights and Office of Racial Equity within this department to be successful by providing appropriate funding to establish them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 0969, please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on, and press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mariana Magaña, and I would like to speak on item 15.
Great. Go right ahead, please.
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm calling on behalf of CHIRLA, that stands for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. We form a part of the collective to advance an Office of Racial Equity here in the city of Los Angeles, alongside Community Coalition, Advancement Project, and other folks you have probably already heard of. I'm calling in support to urge you to provide adequate funding for the Department of Civil and Human Rights. It's extremely alarming that some amendments were introduced at the beginning of this council meeting to reduce what the recommendation was of approximately $7 million in funding to approximately $1 million, and that will really result in the underfunding of a department that really will not be able to serve those most impacted by policies in the city of LA. It's important to understand the role that this department could potentially play in the city. As for too long, right, we have ignored the detrimental consequences that some policies have impacted our community members. As this process moves forward, we also urge you to ensure that those who have been most impacted by the policies are really brought into the conversations and form a part of shaping this department and also the Office of Racial Equity. Once again, we respectfully urge you to support this item and ensure that adequate funding is provided for the positions within the department and for the Office of Racial Equity. The moment to act is truly now, and we can no longer stand by and continue functioning as before when our Black, Indigenous, people of color communities continue to be the most impacted in the city of LA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7006, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak.
Okay, cut him off. Cut him off right now. Cut him off. Cut him off. That speaker has already spoken. He's not permitted to speak again. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the number 0732, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am echoing everyone's sentiments earlier. I was speaking to the motion of 15. This is Eden Luna, and I'm from the Trans Advisory Council, as well as the LA LGBT Center. And as everyone mentioned, and I can only echo everyone's positive resounding comments on this motion, but it is important and integral to the diverse constituency of the city of Los Angeles to invest in a civil and human rights department that adequately can speak and represent the issues that affect the diverse constituency. And so making sure that we can invest and also keep a manageable and achievable workload is so important. And so I also echo everyone's feelings and recommendations to support this motion. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for allowing us to speak to this issue.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7316, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last 4 digits, 7316, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7316, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay. Speaker, last chance. All right. We'll need to move on to the next speaker.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 4853, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last 4 digits, 4853, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, one more try.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 4853, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Tiana Herrera, and I'm from the Transgender Advisory Board Council, and I'm the interventionist here at St. John's. I would like to speak about not only based on law enforcement, but also based on number 15, based on equality, not only just on I know we have some wonderful propositions, but, I'm very happy that there's a lot of work to be done in all different departments. And specifically, I hope that there's a lot of funding for reentry for those that are being released from early incarceration. And also, we have an epidemic based not only on our LGBT community members or trans individuals or gender nonconforming, but also the public in general. You know, I believe in the system for recovery for those who are suffering with substance abuse. You know, I hope there's a lot of funding for mental health and also for you know, for rehabilitation for those that need it or they are willing to attend those recovery programs. And I just want to thank the Human Relations, you know, for everything that they're doing, and also for all the other organizations that are out there, you know, putting themselves on the front line, like APAIT, you know, St. John's, you know, Trans Latino Coalition. They're out there, you know, try to helping out the public and the community. But like I always say, I work in a diverse clinic, so I focus on the public in general. So I just want to say again, hopefully, you know, the Human Relations can help all of these wonderful organizations and even refund LAPD, because we do need them, you know, to support our community members and especially our homeless population that are out there. You know, I know they're out there doing their jobs, but, you know, they're also our allies. You know, we need to treat LAPD, you know, or any law enforcement with respect, just the same way they need to give us the respect you know, in reverse. Because, you know, based on this new administration now, you know, everywhere I turn around now, everybody's happy and joyful. You know, we don't have time. You know, there's a lot of work to be done, but we don't have time to be bitter and miserable. You know, it's time to heal not only ourselves, but the whole nation. That's pretty much everything that I have to say at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 8052. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon. My name is Manju Kulkarni. I would like to speak on item number 15. I'm here with, hello?
Yes,
I'm here with APCON, the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, calling in support of item 15. We really need a commitment from our city to establish and fund the Department of Civil Rights and Human Rights, which includes the Office of Racial Equity within this department. We know at APCON, in creating the Stop AAPI Hate organization or reporting center, how important it is to have both an Office of Racial Equity as well as the Department of Civil and Human Rights, which are fundamental to proactively undertaking systems change around our city's policies, practices, and culture in order to address systemic racism, which includes racism against our Asian American communities. We ask today that you position the Department of Civil and Human Rights and the Office of Racial Equity within this department to be successful by providing available funding for both of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last four digits, 7006. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, cut him off. Cut him off. Cut him off. Cut him off. Again, Mr. Wayne Spindler has now tried to speak 3 times. It's not fair to the rest of the public who would like to actually participate in the process of government of their city that he continues to try to disrupt this meeting. So in fact, because of that, I'm excluding him from this meeting. Mr. Spindler, you are excluded from this meeting. All right, next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7007, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi. Thank you, City Council members. I'm calling in regards to item number 15, motion 200761. My name is Nicole Maloney, and I represent. My name is Nicole Maloney, and I represent the arts and nonprofit community. Today, I think the country has spoken loud and clear. You know, we're celebrating unity over division for the first time in 4 years. We want to help one another and hold each other accountable. This is our time to show the country how the City of LA stands behind civil and human rights and the leadership of Capri Maddox. We trust you, our City Council, and the Mayor to uphold your promise to take care of our own, be it whatever race, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, or sexual orientation. The city and its people need you right now. Look at our rising homelessness, the growing numbers of poverty, the racial tensions, and the lack of support of our youth and their education. Upward mobility is the only way out. Please focus on the people, all the people, and I promise you the people will make you proud. You have the power to do it. As I can quote my favorite Dr. King, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Please, please be reminded of these words as you vote today. Please think about justice for all. Please approve the funding for the Civil and Human Rights Department, Capri Maddox and her team, including Sheldon Cruz. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7316, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much for this time. I would like to speak to agenda item 15. I am a mayoral candidate for the city of Palmdale. I didn't win, but I had a wonderful experience doing that. And it is to my understanding that human trafficking is a very, very serious and grave situation across our nation, and specifically even here in the Antelope Valley. We need desperately organizations, or we need civil rights and human rights advocates. And I'm begging you, I'm beseeching you to please fund this. Do not allow this to fold under. This organization is needed. It's desperately needed. If there is any way you can do fundraising on a grand scale, I would be more than willing to assist. But please, please, this is something that we desperately need. We have women coming out of jail that are being pimped, and they're being subjected to all type of horrific things, and we need advocates on every level. Please, please, I beseech thee, do not allow this organization or this Department of Human and Civil Rights to go under. Thank you for your time, and I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 0848, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last.
Oh, hello. I was just able to get onto the call. I'm a mother and I'm a resident, and I'm just very concerned that all the people that fought for civil rights, they're probably rolling over in their graves now as we contemplate certain things. I just think we should do what's right and stand for what is right and keep these systems in place because they help safeguard so many people that can't speak for themselves. We should remember why the people who fought for civil rights fought for civil rights. They fought for civil rights for all of us. So let's not forget that, and let's do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 5038. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller with the last 4 digits, 5038. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Once more. Speaker,
Caller
are you
with
there?
the last.
Go ahead, Hannah.
I'm going to move on to the next one. Caller with the last 4 digits, 3927. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on and press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker. Let's try again.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 3927. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker. All right, we'll need to move to the next caller, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 5999. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker. Once more.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 5999. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker.
Sorry, I'm at work. Hi, my name is Dawn Gibson. I would just like to come on in order to beseech that these particular policies and funds are maintained so that we can make sure that we adhere to the need for unity amongst diversity and funding for all of the causes that are needed to be maintained for our society going forward. That's all I need to say at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Much welcome.
Okay. Hannah, how many more speakers do you have in the queue?
I have about 17 speakers left.
Okay. We'll take another 10 minutes of comment before we get into our work. So let's move expeditiously if we can. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1263. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker. Once more.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 1263. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Go ahead, speaker. Okay, we'll need to move on.
If I may please make a quick comment, this is Mandy with the City Clerk's Office. I'd like to remind the public comment speakers that once you are in the meeting, please press *9 to request to speak. Then when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number, please press *6 to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 9591. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Amara Cruz. I'm calling on item 15, item number 15.
Right ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm representing the historical Black college community HBCUs, and I appreciate to see the Civil and Human Rights Department fully funded. The department's work will impact our city for the better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 6574. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kimball De Leon, and I'm calling in regards to item number 15. Again, my name is Kimball De Leon. I'm with the California Democratic Party Black Caucus, and just calling to recommend the funding of the Human and Civil Rights Department. And thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your being with us. Next speaker, please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 4039. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi, sorry, give me 1 second. Hi, I'm Marlene. I'm a youth ambassador for the City of Los Angeles year 2015, and I support fully funding the Civil and Human Rights Department for the City of LA. The people around America have spoken through protests, social movements, and outrage that we still have much work to do to achieve justice and equality. Los Angeles can be the catalyst to help the people and the institutions create a bridge towards compassion and a just future. There's much work to be done, but the department would help us move forward. The department can only work at its best capacity if it is fully staffed and funded. Now is not the time to cut costs on humanity. Now is the time to invest in our future. I hope you all feel the same and vote for a department that is fully funded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker,
Goodbye.
please.
Caller with the last 4 digits, 7745. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and what items you'd like to speak on.
Turn off your device, please.
Yes, my name is Jewett Walker, President and Chairman of the Board of the 100 Black Men of Los Angeles. We're here standing in agreement with those on item number 15, that department be fully funded and allowed to execute its strategic plan. We stand in support of the Executive Director, Bree Maddox, and we look forward to the great work that she will be allowed to do with full funding in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Mr. Chair, there are no more speakers with their hands raised currently.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, and thanks for everyone who participated. Appreciate your being part of our meeting and offering your thoughts. So let's go, members, if we can, next to our consent calendar. And again, I had read recommendations for consent approval on items 9 through 12 and 14. Do any members have any questions or concerns about any of those matters? I see no one raising their hand, so we can go ahead and call the roll on those items as I read the recommendations earlier.
Thank you. Krikorian?
Aye.
Price?
Aye.
Koretz?
Aye.
Blumenfield?
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin?
Bonin, aye.
5 ayes. These items are adopted per the chair's recommendations.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, on item number 13, I'm going to go ahead and call that item, but as it's being called, I'm going to hand the gavel on that item to the virtual gavel to Mr. Koretz, because I will, in an abundance of caution, recuse on this matter. And Mr. Price.
Mr. Chairman, I also need to recuse myself because of some ownership issues.
Very good. Okay, then let's go ahead and Mr. Price and I will turn our video feeds off and we'll hand the meeting over to Mr. Koretz.
Thank you. Item number 13.
Item number 13 is a motion, Martinez-O'Farrell, relative to instructing the city attorney with the assistance of the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department to prepare and present a draft ordinance to amend the Los Angeles Administrative Code to delegate the authority to the general manager of HCID LA to accept donations for the Emergency Rental Assistance Subsidy Program, including those previously provided, and to allocate those donations to the Emergency Rental Assistance Subsidy Program Trust Fund.
And we have a motion that has been suggested by the CLA. I wonder if we could read that into the record.
Yes, that would be I therefore move that the City Council request the City Attorney, with the assistance of the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department, to prepare and present an ordinance to amend Los Angeles Administrative Code Section 5.596 to provide that all gifts, contributions, and bequests to the City for the purposes set forth in this chapter, which exceed the sum of $5,000 in value, shall be submitted to the City Council for acceptance or rejection. All such gifts, contributions, and bequests to the City which do not exceed the sum of $5,000 in value shall be submitted to the General Manager of HCID for acceptance or rejection. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we could have a staff report on this item.
Good afternoon, council members. This is Anna Ortega from the Housing and Community Investment Department. I'm the project manager for the ERAS program. When the City Council established the Emergency Renters Assistance Subsidy Program, they did agree to create a special fund to accept donations for the subsidy program. It's been live actually since, I believe, late May, and we have received some donations, but the city attorney advises that we need additional authority to accept any donations from the public. So I can tell you that as of right now, we've had a very large donation of $250,000 that was made to the fund, and another not as large but still very generous donation of $10,000. And we've had an additional $9,388, so the total that's been donated is $269,388. So there are generous members of the public who have responded to the need to assist their fellow Angelenos by making donations to the fund. There has been on the HCIDLA homepage a donate button created, as I said, some months ago, and people are able to give donations for this purpose.
And also, I know the CLA is present to answer questions on the amendment if anyone has any questions. Colleagues, any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I would ask for a roll call on this item.
Thank you. On item 13, as amended, Krikorian absent, Price absent, Koretz?
Aye.
Blumenfield?
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin?
Bonin, aye.
3 ayes. This item passes as amended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will wait for our chair to retake the gavel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koretz and members. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead next to item number 15, please.
Item 15 is a motion, Cedillo Bonin, relative to the creation of a Civil and Human Rights Department and related matters. The Immigrant Affairs, Civil Rights, and Equity Committee approved this item on October 19th, 2020. This matter is also referred to the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee.
Very good. So I'm going to invite up Ms. Maddox to be able to present briefly on this matter. We have had lots of discussions over the course of the last week or more, and tried to really drill down on the hiring needs and so forth of this new department. I do just want to say, by way of background before we begin, because a few people mentioned during the public comment period scope of work and defining the scope of work and not broadening the scope of work before the department begins. Other people expressed concerns about the amount of funding, and so I just want to put this into a little bit of context. Right now, when the council approved the budget for this year, the Civil and Human Rights Department was budgeted with, sort of a placeholder budget of $417,554. And I think all of us recognize that that level of budgeting is not sufficient to the task of creating even a rudimentary, sustainable civil and human rights department. And so the amendment that I proposed would significantly increase that amount, triple the budgeted amount, in fact. But I do that, I make that proposal in the context that since we approved that budget that included that funding level, I think everyone needs to be mindful, again, of the fact that and so by the time this department is up and running and hiring and so forth, we're already well into the fiscal year before all that happens. So the objective that I was trying to achieve with the amendments that I proposed is to approve a more robust budget than what is now there, and to set it on a trajectory that's sustainable so that this department, as it begins and as it continues to grow and identify its needs, then we can revisit that budget in the years coming. Everyone should be clear that policy committees do not set budgets. The Budget and Finance Committee does. So this is not a reduction in any budget. What happened in the policy committee was a proposal was made for a certain level of hiring that would cause the department's budget to exceed the budget of our existing Department of Aging, or exceed the budget of our existing Department of Disability. And that's simply not sustainable or achievable in an environment when we have the yawning deficits that we're facing and a revenue shortfall of up to $600 million. So I think that from our discussions with Ms. Maddox and with with the chair of the policy committee and others, that this appears to be a sensible approach to start off with, and then we can continue to help support and grow this department as we move forward. And so with those comments, I'd like to invite Ms. Maddox to offer her thoughts and a brief presentation on this. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Very grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and the Budget and Finance Committee today. serving as the executive director / general manager of the Civil and Human Rights Department is truly an honor. I do know that we are dealing with sobering financial news. Of course, you know, the initial budget is particularly to serve the entire, you know, needs and the breadth of what has been requested at this season. Even for half the year, $7.4 million was our initial goal, and we were asked to lay things out on what we could do to make a substantial difference. But again, recognizing exactly what we're dealing with as it relates to budget and finance restraints at this time, we are grateful for continued support to move the department forward to be able to serve communities in need. I do want to make a couple of clarifying items before I go into the overview of the department quickly, and to say exactly how we can serve in a substantial way. And I think it's important also to discuss exactly how we can engage the community as well in all that we do. And we appreciate the overwhelming support from the city of Los Angeles, particularly communities in need and our underserved communities, some of which you all heard today. I wanted to just make a couple of clarifying points as it relates to the motion that has been read today. There was a request to release provide a hiring exemption for a management assistant, a management analyst position, and that item should have been added as a position to be filled. So
you are my apologies. You are absolutely right, and I'm happy to encompass that within my amendment as well.
Thank you so much. And another item that we had an issue with was related to the fact that we have a chief management analyst as a placeholder for an assistant general manager position. And in that space, we wanted to, I don't know if there the exact wording that you would need, but I want to be clear that that's simply a placeholder to put a chief management analyst in that spot to hold for the assistant general manager position.
Okay, I don't think for purposes of this committee we need to provide any further specification of that language, but we understand the intent.
Okay, and that may be something for the next council committee. And then the last thing is that just to mention on behalf of the CAO's office, I think that you should know that we've been running a little bit of a deficit because the department was actually operational ahead of the July start date. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have some of those issues. But I wanted to focus on the fact that despite some of the limitations, the staff from the Civil and Human Rights Department has been moving forward. We've had a great deal of support from community-based organizations, even APCOM and others that have really stepped up to the plate to help us as we shape this department. We have leadership from UCLA, USC, a number of institutions of higher learning, especially our community colleges, that have really stepped up to help us in this space, even some help with philanthropic support, such as resources from Google. And I just want you to know that I am so grateful for our 3 commissions that we serve with: the Civil and Human Rights Commission, the Commission on the Status of Women, the Human Relations Commission, which also has the Transgender Advisory Council together. There are 32 members of all of these advisory bodies, and we are extremely grateful for their diverse leadership in this space. Wanted to also let you know that in addition to providing commission support as a department, we have outreach and community engagement work that we've been doing, particularly with a number of communities such as our faith-based communities, our community-based organizations, our philanthropic community. In addition to those communities, we have our neighborhood councils and the business community. And over the last few months, we've had an opportunity to have presentations community-based meetings, as well as just one-on-one discussions with 80 groups to talk about, from these 5 different entities that I mentioned. We've had 80 meetings plus to talk about what we need to do to shape this department. And in that space, we've come down to 4 pillars of where we need to serve: community support, outreach, and community engagement. Of course, the discrimination enforcement that is tied to the Civil Rights Ordinance, as well as a space as it relates to equity and empowerment, or it could be the Office of Racial Equity. And so I want us to be really mindful of the fact that hate crimes are up in Los Angeles. You know, Los Angeles County is reporting the highest hate crime numbers since they've been counting. And of course, this is true for the ADL, Anti-Defamation League. So they're seeing some of the highest numbers in hate crimes with specific groups than they have since they've been counting. And I think, and it's all across the board, anti-Semitic hate crimes, the transgender community, API community, and of course the African American and Latino communities, particularly and high emphasis on anti-immigration hate crimes. So I think it's hate crimes and hate incidents. And I think LAPD, as of maybe like since June of this year, has come in with numbers of over 50 reports just in this fiscal year so far, not the calendar year, but just this fiscal year. I think it's really important to know that our department will be dealing with discrimination enforcement, where people's rights will be violated in 4 areas. That's commerce, education, employment, and housing. We look forward to having a robust arm of leadership in this space. I know that we needed we asked for an assistant general manager in 2 areas of our department. One area would be for our legal area, and the other would be for the admin, budget, finance, that kind of support. But I think it's particularly important to understand that we do know that we have some financial constraints, and if we have to figure it out with one AGM, then that's something that we will do. I think what I'd like to just urge and to tell you we really need support in the areas where I'm really excited about our work is in the equity space. In meeting with community members, there are 3 areas that have been really important for us to address, in robust support and full support of the department is needed, particularly to deal with these 3 areas, council members: the policy equity lens, upward mobility programming, and industry diversity metrics. I'll quickly give you an update on what those 3 things mean. When you think about the policy equity lens, we're talking about discussions about how we deal with the COVID equity issues, and we don't take that issue of COVID-19 and the resources affiliated with it and divide it up by 15 council districts. We are targeting our resources, and we want to continue to target resources and even think about things beyond testing, because in communities of need, they have a number of issues that will come up. I don't have to tell you that even thinking about, you have COVID, now what? People need food, people need pulse oximeters or thermometers even. We're talking about people that can't get around without public transportation. And for us as a city in this space, we need to look at everything through a policy equity lens to see how we can serve people in an equitable way. And I think it's particularly important when we're talking about food deserts, the digital divide, etc. Upward mobility programming helps people get into the middle class and beyond, teaching you information about college and career readiness, financial literacy, homeownership opportunities, how to be an entrepreneur, and again, anything that gets you into the middle class and beyond. And then our industry diversity metrics piece, which has been addressed to a certain extent with the Renew program that the mayor launched. this month, well, last month now, the opportunity to increase hiring in corporate America, not only government, as ED 27 has started the process on, but to address the fact that we are underrepresented as African Americans and Latinos in corporate America, particularly in careers of STEM, or high net worth earning potential positions. So I think that it's particularly important for us to be sure that we have resources in that space. And then, of course, we'll continue to work with our community-based organizations, our youth, et cetera. So I think I'll stop there because I know there are some questions, perhaps about the budget and some of the needs that we have. So I'll yield the floor there. Thank you so much, Councilman.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Maddox. And this is a really kind of a momentous day in the history of the city of Los Angeles. Certainly will be when this passes council. And I just want to say from the outset that it's very obvious that we have the right leader at the right time for this position in you. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the incredible work that you're going to do and are doing right now with this new and expanded position. So, members, questions for Ms. Maddox? Okay, Mr. Bonnet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Maddox, as always, for your work and for your presentation. I wish we were giving you more resources. I can say the same about any number of departments coming before us, but we really do need to be putting energy into this, and I hope this is enough to get you to launch at least into the right direction, so that as we get more resources, we can allocate them. I was really glad to hear your presentation and the way you sort of bifurcated the different functions, and I was particularly interested in the second set of sort of pillars you were talking about the policy equity lens and about the upward mobility and about the corporate hiring index. A lot of that I assume will fall under the purview eventually of the Office of Racial Equity when it gets sorted out and constructed.
Yes, this is the equity part of the department. I am really excited about the fact that the Office of Racial Equity has been created, or is in the process of being created. I think if we had a different budget time, it would be great for it to be its own entity, because there's just so much need in this space. However, we want to be sure that this Office of Racial Equity has a place in our city family, and if due to the budget crisis now, if the best place for it is within our department, we would be happy to have them have the Office of Racial Equity join our operation. I will say this is we will be hopeful that once the determination is made based on some of the needs, that we have resources for that. We have resources for that operation. Of course, we would do an injustice to the Office of Racial Equity to place it within the department without additional resources.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the additional resources would be crucial. Part of the report from the other committee, I think it's items 6, 7, and 8 of the recommendations that were recommended to concur with, has the departments, I believe, including yours, reporting back on how to structure the Office of Racial Equity, where to put it, how to deal with those responsibilities. Do you or the CAO's office have a sense of how quickly that can happen?
I believe the item will come back before the IACR committee, the Immigrant Affairs City Council Subcommittee, and probably by this sometime next month or so. So I'm guessing within a month to 8 weeks max, we could have an answer from the CLA's office. And I don't know if someone's on the from the CLA's office is on the call that can give clarity, but I do know that someone is working diligently to figure out exactly how we could work things out and have that report back to you. That's good. I want us to have, even while the money's still tight, I want us to have the consensus on the work plan, so that when the money does become available, we can build it. You know, we all have enormously high hopes for the incoming administration in Washington right now. A lot of it may depend, all eyes falling on Georgia at the moment, but we're all looking forward to that. And I actually think of the different things a new administration might address. I think that there's a chance that there could be some resources that could help jurisdictions more aggressively and thoughtfully pursue questions of equity. So I just wanted to sort of lay that out there, as I think it's very important that we do the primary functions of the Department of Human and Civil Rights, but that we also don't lose sight of the need to have the Office of Racial Equity, as so many different groups in the city have talked about, you know, because the functions are so different. I mean, of compliance and investigation on one hand, are people playing by the rules, and what do we do when they don't, versus the Office of Racial Equity, which is really in so many ways about how can we change the rules to make a better playing field. So I thank you for everything you're doing. You're a phenomenal leader for a long overdue effort, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and support you. Thank you, Councilman Bonner.
Thank you. Members, Mr. Kratz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think I'm as excited as everyone else to see Ms. Maddox move forward with this department. And I'm hopeful that this reduced amount doesn't really have any kind of long-term impact, because I think it will take a while to get people hired and up and running, and I think it is a reasonable match in terms of getting things started. Hopefully, we can be more optimistic about the next fiscal year and add a little more support. Couple questions. Are you focusing very much or planning to on improving our results in terms of prison reentry? This has been an issue for a long time. I personally got involved with it when I was in the legislature, quietly now, a number of years ago, back when even changing the purpose of the criminal justice system, which was a bill I moved forward, from purely punishment to punishment and reentry, in essence. That's been a disastrous problem across the state, with the worst recidivism rate by far of any state in the union. I think it was double the next closest state when I was in the legislature. Are we looking at how to improve upon that, at least in Los Angeles, when folks get out of prison, when they get out of jail? How can we help their landing to be more successful than it was structured in the past?
Very good question, Councilman. And I know we have some people that are on the call. We have our website up, Civil and Human Rights. .lacity.org, and you can, for the general public, you all can see there what the answer that I'm going to provide to the councilman. I think it's really important to know that we had a re-entry during the pandemic Zoom call where over 150 people called in to get information on how people can successfully re-enter society. It is something that we saw as a community need, and through our various commissions as well as our community-based groups, we learned that this was an urgent need, particularly with the number of folks that were being released from custody due to the COVID crisis. And we wanted to be sure that those systems and structures were set up. It was something that was led by LARP's leader, and not leader, but I can't remember his role, but Reverend Joe Paul led the conversation, and it was something that Nason Buchanan put together for our office before he left to work for the Brotherhood Crusade's Boys and Men of Color initiative. So we are particularly proud that we've already done work in this space just to support and using our platform as the Civil and Human Rights Department to actually host 4 community events, and the reentry event was one of them. We did 2 for the unfortunate need that we had for hate crime prevention for the transgender community, and another one for the API community. And then, of course, we had an event for Women's Day. But I think it's particularly important to know that making sure that we served as a platform for the reentry community is something we wanted to do. So thank you for that question, sir.
Thank you. And the other area where we essentially have a fall off a cliff for folks is in the area of foster kids. When they graduate from the system, it used to be at 18, they'd be out and they'd be struggling, and many would wind up on the street and in the criminal justice system. And now it's not quite as soon, but the problem still exists. When you reach the end, you're often unprepared to fit into society, and may wind up going down wrong paths. So are we looking at that as well as an opportunity to improve?
Yes, and thank you for that important question. I think it's been well known that Five Families took me in when I was a teenager so that I would not go into the foster care system. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart on a personal level. I think, and of course I've been on numerous panels, particularly as late as maybe a couple of weeks ago, to speak to this issue and to be an advocate in this space wherever there's a need. I think when we talk about equity and upward mobility and empowerment, it is particularly important to look at the systemic problems that we have. And you just brought up 2 of them, people not supporting folks that are reentering society. And the second thing that you mentioned, of course, is our foster care system. These are our children, and if anyone had a household where half of the kids in your house would be, are more likely to become homeless, or if you had, a certain percentage that, large percentage that were going into the criminal justice system, or drug abuse, or poverty, we would, as a society, would stand up and say and take a strong stand. And I feel like we have othered the foster care population, but they are our kids and they are not going anywhere. So we can serve them now, or we can deal with some consequences later on. And the consequences aren't only as it relates to the criminal justice system and other social service needs. I think it's really important for us to think about the fact that we're missing out on their potential, because these are the most resilient kids among us. So I definitely want to use this platform to lift up those Angelinos. Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, thank you. First, I want to start off echoing my colleagues. Capri, I've known you a long time, and I'm just so excited that you're leading this department, and I have every confidence in the world that you're gonna take it to new heights. And I'm glad that we, as a committee and then ultimately as a council, are able to come up with some the additional funding from what was budgeted earlier, and really want to see this department thrive, because, as you mentioned, the mission is so critical. I did want to ask just as I was looking at the initial budget, financial question. There's a large percentage of the proposed budget is contractual services, And I wanted to understand that, and that's obviously very different than most other departments. And I wanted to understand who you expect to be contracting with. And, you know, not necessarily, I'm not asking for a breakdown of the budget, but more just to get us a better sense of how this is going to work, because it's very non-traditional way to go about it, and sort of to have the majority of the funds going in that direction. What does that mean? Who is it going to, and how do you see it playing out? Is it a temporary thing as you build the department, or is it the model for going forward?
So I'm really glad you asked that question, and on whether or not it is something that's temporary or a model may depend on funding issues as we move forward in the years to come. Obviously, we have some positions that could be easily filled by a number of staff members, but at this time we are limited in the number of staff members we can have on board. So when you think about translation services, it's something that's, you know, big, and when you stand yourself up as servicing all communities. And we've had the privilege of working with the Office of Immigrant Affairs to be sure to do even COVID equity flyers in at least 7 languages. We're thinking Russian, Armenian, Thai, Simple Chinese, as well as Spanish, and a number of other languages. And so I think it is really important to know that's where consultant resources will go. I think we've allotted $65,000 for those resources, and I won't go into the breakdown of the entire list, but when you think about someone to do our metrics and help us with some of the software that we need, that will be more of a temporary thing. When we think about the research, I believe you guys set aside $50,000 for that. The programming and the software that we would really like, particularly for the corporate accountability, those numbers could get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I know that has been trimmed down, but at least the fact that we need software so that we can keep up with our metrics, so that the next year that I sit before you with our budget request, I can let you know what we've done. And again, that may be a one-time cost. And the other thing is training with our external community groups when we talk about, you know, hate crime prevention. We do have an entity that works with the city. I believe it's with the Department of Personnel that comes in and provides anti-bias training. I don't have to tell you about, and I know, Councilman, you've been an advocate in this space to prevent discriminatory behavior and hate crimes. But again, we know that in so many pockets, we need assistance in this space. And so we are looking to piggyback on existing contracts in the city to figure out how we can get people to do anti-bias training for us. We actually asked for anti-bias training for our city family as well as the external community, and I believe at this time there's only resources for the external partners getting some training. But I would love to have the opportunity to have a staff person that could be on board to do this training for us. But at this time, we believe it's best to have the consultants provide assistance in this space. And I don't have to tell you, with the climate that we've all been experiencing, even as a mother of a middle schooler, he's experiencing a lot more hate incidents online and seeing a lot with people in his own age group. When I was younger, if we had any hate incidents or hate speech, it was usually from an older person. So we are particularly concerned about our younger population. And it'll pretty much take us, we're guessing, some professionals are guessing it would take a generation or two to even get us out of the slump the lows that we've reached as it relates to racial harmony in America. I think that's about it as it relates to some of the resources. We also may have some specialty mediators that'll be coming on board. And just to wrap up that question, we have Pepperdine School of Law that will be helping us with our mediation program. They've offered to do this free of charge for the city. And to support me, you should know that Pepperdine is my beloved alma mater. I went to law school there. And I think it is, really great that we have their support, but we may need specialty mediators to assist us in a hearing officer role as well. So that's pretty much the overview of the consultant positions.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need more information? Is that clear?
That's good. Thank you.
Anything else, members? Mr. Price? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Capri, I really appreciate your presentation and your enthusiasm. I mean, it's clear that you and your team are all in, and I just want you to know that we're behind you. I certainly support the budget as proposed. I know you'd like to see an increase, and I would too. And I think that we'll start small, but I think there's a chance to really expand in a very creative way, in a very real way. I think it's significant that you've identified the areas of immigrant affairs, youth, foster care in our youngsters as a focus. What about homelessness? Where do you see that interaction occurring with your department and our efforts to provide services and to provide access to individuals who are experiencing homelessness? What's the intersection, you think, for your department in that?
Great question. And as it relates to the budget and the limitations, I think it is a saying, we're not where we want to be, but we're not where we could be. And so we do appreciate the efforts that the city council, particularly this committee, has made as it relates to supporting our department. When you talk about homelessness, I think that our department has everything to do with homelessness in this space. It's not, I'll tell you, there are two places. Of course, discrimination enforcement. And the second area is our equity piece, particularly when we talk about upward mobility programming and helping people get into the middle class and beyond. And there may be folks that are leaving the foster care system, for example, that will learn about our upward mobility, college and career readiness. Again, I showed up at CalStera LA, 2 suitcases, everything I own. And so getting an education was a big difference maker personally. And so we want to use all the tools in our toolbox, getting people into trades, getting people into our community colleges, and in our equity piece to make sure that people have an opportunity to, join the middle class and beyond, because if you're in that space, you're less likely to be homeless, and also to learn tools at an early age, like financial literacy, like careers in STEM. The other thing that I think is really important, aside from our equity piece, is our discrimination enforcement. When you think about the fact that 2 of our 4 areas where we are tasked to actually bring cases against folks that violate your civil rights in commerce, education, employment, and housing, think about it. Your employment and housing discrimination can lead to exacerbate conditions and make it more likely for people to become homeless. So I want to just let you know there are 2 areas where I think our department can be helpful in this space. And we have so many populations, also, Councilman, as I wrap up, that serve populations that have high numbers of homelessness, like the fact that, 40%, nearly 40% of the folks that are homeless are African American. The fact that we have high numbers of people that are coming out to their parents as transgender are likely to experience homelessness in their lifetime. I believe maybe like 40, it's maybe even more than 40% of our transgender population will experience homelessness at one time in their lifetime. And of course, as we discuss the numbers with our foster youth, continue to grow up grow as it relates to homelessness. So by serving these communities with our equity piece and our enforcement arm, we will be able to deal with homelessness prevention in some way. So thank you for the question, and thank you for your continued service in that space.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Price. Members, if there's... Mr. Kratz, did you want to be heard again?
I have a question for you, Mr. Chair, which is, I've been thinking about this, and since our equity funds, in essence, are replacing some of the funding that we would have liked to have provided to this department, is there any possibility, recognizing the fact that we could be $700 million short, that not changing the budgeting of this item, but that we could fund the original placeholder amount as well from the equity funds this time and restore those funds back into the general fund?
Well, I don't think I'm prepared to recommend that at this point, just given the fact that it's been such a scramble to try to come up with the funding that Ms. Maddox needs right now and still leave sufficient resources for the other competing needs that there are for that fund itself. It's good creative thinking.
As a thought.
I appreciate it, and it's the kind of good creative thinking we should always be undergoing as we're moving into trying to clear this deficit. But as for this particular expenditure for this particular department, I would not want to do that at this point. But I do appreciate the thought. I would not recommend making that change at this point. Members, anything further on this? Very good. Then if we could go ahead and call the roll on the matter as it was amended by me at the outset, with the further addition of the management analyst position that Ms. Maddox mentioned that I wanted to have included in that as well. So let's go ahead and call the roll, please.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Koretz.
Aye.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
5 ayes. This item is approved as amended per the committee chair's recommendations.
Very good. Congratulations, everyone, for making this happen. Thank you, Ms. Maddox, and congratulations. Look forward to continuing to work with you as we further refine the work of the department and its budget. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the members for making history today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Well, I believe that concludes our open session items. Unless I missed something. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So we can then go ahead and proceed now into closed session, where we'll take up items 1 through 8. this evening.
Okay, thank you. Open session.
All right, the Budget and Finance Committee is back in open session. We have completed our agenda items, and there being no other business before the committee, we are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you
much. You too.
Very much. Bye-bye.